Welcome back, everyone, to Red Spotlight Entertainment. I'm your host, Alexis J. Soto, joined by Mr. Peter Martinez, bringing you all the latest stories coming out of the world of movies. This week we have a lot of trailers from The Green Knight and Venom, I believe, as well as new casting for the Knives Out sequel, some new projects that have been announced from Spielberg and Bong Joon-ho. NBC has decided to cancel the Golden Globe Awards, and Emily Blunt has canceled Marvel movies. Plus, we've got two reviews for the new Sony animated film that is currently streaming on Netflix, The Mitchells vs. the Machines, produced by Phil Lord and Chris Miller, and the Oscar-winning film, the international movie from Denmark, Another Round, starring Mads Mikkelsen. All of that, here and more on Red Spotlight number 322. Peter, first and foremost, before we even start with the show, we do want to, of course, apologize for not having a show out last week. We did intend to have something as far as a show with you and me is concerned, but some of the usual suspects once again got in the way of a recording, and so it was unfortunately out of our hands at that point. And just as well, there wasn't much to talk about anyway, but little did we know that this episode will most assuredly be 3 hours long, so I would advise our listeners to get comfortable.
Oh, God. I'm gonna keep all my answers short and sweet.
Before we get into a lot of the news that happened this week, we do, of course, want to touch on some of the, I don't know if earth-shattering news is the best way to describe this, but there is a seismic update as far as the coronavirus pandemic is concerned. And that is the fact that the United States cases of infections are down 42% in the last 11 days. And then the big news, which is the CDC announced that Americans who are fully vaccinated against COVID no longer need to wear masks or physically distance, indoors or outdoors, in almost all circumstances. And that was a decision the CDC made a couple days ago, and it has caused quite the hullabaloo. And unfortunately, the usual suspects have wasted no time to use that to reignite once again the anti-mask movement. Peter, what do you make of all of this? Do you feel? I know I've discussed this with Kyle off air, and he feels it's kind of a mistake to announce this because it's only going to lead to more people just being caught in the crossfire between, you know, the anti-maskers and the anti-vaxxers and this coronavirus pandemic. What are your thoughts?
Well, the thing is, it's like you can basically go about your business if you're vaccinated.
Mm-hmm.
So then the question becomes, so now the guidelines are, oh, you can do what you want if you're vaccinated. So then what's the next question? People are going to, restaurants or places can be like, oh yeah, you don't have to wear a mask if you're vaccinated. And we're going to go on the honor system, the like buddy system. And then that's where the whole discussion of like a vaccine passport came up. Yeah, this is, I mean, at this point, I'm vaccinated.
Yeah.
I know the people that are smart enough to get vaccinated will get vaccinated, and those that aren't won't. I don't know. I guess that's on them.
At this point, that's where it's at. Many people have speculated that this decision was made in large part to encourage those who have been skeptical of getting vaccinated to get it, because it basically gives those who have, you know, the full vaccine permission to do whatever they want. You know, they basically have been saying you can go back to your normal life as it was beforehand if you're vaccinated. And, you know, to be fair, that is true. The vaccines work. If you're fully vaccinated, you're good. And as far as everyone else is concerned, I mean, we I think this is also kind of an admission. We've even though we've known for weeks now, herd immunity isn't going to happen because enough people have been, you know, I don't know, taken over by QAnon or Trumpers or whatever, and that's kind of where we are at the moment, right? And I've been saying for weeks now, having gotten my second dose of the vaccine, that I'm good. The rest of it's on you. I have my protection. I'm done waiting for your ass.
Yeah, I mean, these people, a lot of the people that don't want to take the vaccine will never want to. They'd rather pull out their guns and, fight the government if they try and stick that needle in their arm. And it's like, all right, at this point, there's nothing you can do unless you, well, like the bare minimum you can do is like a vaccine passport, and they're never going to do that because I think it's too bold. It's
too much work. It's just too much work. Let's just be honest about that. It's too much work and nobody wants to.
Yeah. All it'll do is just fire up the crazies. I don't know how good it would even be in practice. I think it would work if there were no crazies. Well, you wouldn't even need it if there were no crazies. Yeah. Because people would just go like, oh, I'm not vaccinated. They would, well, first of all, they'd attempt to get the vaccine. And if they weren't, they'd go like, oh, no, I can't go out. I have to keep wearing the mask. I'm not vaccinated yet. Like they would self-police. So, yeah. And my whole thing is I'm vaccinated. The people in my life are vaccinated. Like,
yeah, everybody that I know that I care about in my circle has the vaccine. And as far as I'm concerned, I would assume most of the people who have chosen not to get it are people that didn't care about anybody else but themselves in the first place. So why I should care about them, I'm kind of over that, to be honest with you. And also, there needs to be a distinction. And this, I don't know if this made its way back to you, Peter, but there has been a lot of widespread confusion over what this actually means. So the CDC made this recommendation, and a lot of people in my life somehow feel like that word or that rule came down from Biden or the administration themselves, or it's the federal government's policy. Just to review, the federal mask mandate on government property still stands, last I checked. And as far as the individual states are concerned, like California, there is still a mask mandate anywhere you go, and most businesses are still upholding that. Of course, some have chosen to review that policy. And that may not stay that way much longer, but at the moment, there is a distinction that people have to remind themselves between federal government, state government, and of course also the CDC, which doesn't really apply to either one of those. So just in case people are, because a lot of people are just assuming like, I can go out now and I don't have to wear a mask wherever I go. No, that's not really what it's saying, and that's also really what's not law. So I would advise people that, just keep up with what the actual rules are. And before this even happened, in New York, Governor Cuomo, who we should remind our listeners is trying to change the conversation any way he can from his various scandals, has allowed all theaters to open at full capacity, provided, of course, they still maintain some semblance of social distancing, and it's on them to figure out how that works. So there is that.
Well, that's the tough thing, too, because a lot of government officials just want to be like, it's done. We're over. If Trump had won re-election, the whole country would have been completely opened up after the first vaccines went out.
Yeah.
Like the very night that the first person got vaccinated, they'd be like, all right, we're opening up. So, yeah, I don't know. I think a large enough percentage of the population is vaccinated. I assume. Maybe not where we would need for herd immunity, but certainly large enough. At this point, I don't know. I just think there's nothing you can really do.
Yeah. One final question on this, and then we'll move on to what we saw this week. Are you about ready to go back to a theater?
I think so. I think I could.
Have you flirted with like which movie you're gonna actually go and experiment with once they're open or once you're ready to go?
Oh man, you're treating this like a holy moment.
Well, I mean, I didn't mean. Well, I didn't want to come off as crass as Kyle can be with these things sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, there's Cruella. There's also which I know you're really looking forward to that film. And then there's also A Quiet Place Part 2, which I believe opened at the end of this month.
I don't know. I for sure ain't Cruella, I'll tell you that.
All right, let's go ahead and get into what we saw this week. I'll go first here. Invincible on Amazon Prime. Obviously, I've been seeing it. And in fact, you can listen to my thoughts on the first 4 episodes of season 1 with David Francisco, and in the coming installment for the remainder of season 1. And so far, it's really, 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 really good, and getting really gooder, as Peter would say, getting really gooder as we're reaching the end of season 1. So more thoughts, of course, on that show. On our segment series, but I am immensely enjoying it. Then I also saw finally Rick and Morty season 4.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
I thought you looked a little smarter.
I don't know what to say to that, so I'm just gonna say that Rick and Morty season 4 was great. Like solid, like honestly as solid as a season can get. Like they consistently just at great episode after great episode. Maybe one in there was kind of whatever, but for the most part, it was a really strong season.
Yeah, the cool thing with Rick and Morty is I feel like they try to do very different things with each episode.
Mm-hmm.
And try to have no one episode be alike.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
So even if it's not your favorite episode, it's like, well, you've also never seen an episode like this. But then I also think that's forcing them to do some fucking borderline insane things.
Borderline?
Like the train episode.
That was amazing. But I think the one where it got a little, I don't know if beyond the pale is the right phrase to use here, but the whole slut dragon thing was.
I loved that one.
Yeah, but that to me was literal insanity.
No, but that one just felt like they were just smoking and like.
Yeah.
They're slut dragons, you know. It felt like that kind of stuff. Whereas with like. The train one, it felt like, oh, we're Rick and Morty. We need to push the envelope. Yeah. But there's nowhere left to push. And they're like, keep pushing further. And it's just this like meta within meta within meta.
Mm-hmm.
Weird as fuck.
They had some of their best episodes this season.
And it's like,
they were exceptional.
I guess my thing is like, if you want to run for 10 more seasons, I don't know what the fuck season 9 is gonna look like, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But no, it's entertaining. It's always entertaining.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's never lost that in its 4th season. Mm-hmm. And season 5 is not too far from here. It seems like I think in June is when they're gonna have the premiere. Yeah,
they're moving quicker than their earlier seasons.
They are. I'm sure they have more money now than they did in their earlier seasons.
Oh, fuck yeah.
So they also have that going for them. So I also saw Curb Your Enthusiasm season 10. And kind of like with Rick and Morty, or maybe even in a more impressive way, I feel like Curb Your Enthusiasm is one of the, I think, exceptions to the rule when it comes to how long a television show should be. You know, when you get to your 10th season, usually you've gone well beyond the bounds of your peak.
Oh, hell yeah.
And you're sliding downhill. For me, Curb hasn't lost that edge. It has not lost that edge one bit, and it has found ways to remain relevant in its 10th season. Throughout, I should also remind viewers, if you're not aware, that, Curb Your Enthusiasm has 10 seasons, but it's been on and off the air periodically for 20 years. It debuted in the year 2000. Think about that. And Larry David looks exactly the same as he did in 2000. Everybody else in the show has aged, but he has somehow remained the same. Tell me if it's just me.
What helps with the show is that the show is constantly about the way society is at the time, and how that just doesn't make sense to the main character. And like, different episodes are about like, wait, this is stupid, this doesn't make sense. And just him trying to wrap his mind around what everyone else is doing at the time, and how he's just like, no. And then it just comes back and bites him in the ass. Because obviously the world keeps changing. It doesn't stop. It never stops providing him with fresh material to sort of, keep going. And I think that's why it's remained fresh, right? Because a lot of shows, the premise is, it's, two guys taking care of a baby, 10 seasons, that'll get old. Like, that premise does not last that long. But if your premise, if time allows you to create new material, because your whole premise is talking about what's going on right now, you can keep that fresh maybe forever. So yeah, no, it's one of the few shows that seemingly just can't lose it.
Some of the funniest things you'll ever see on this show, maybe ever, this is an amazing episode where John Hamm, he's the guest star of the week, and his job is to shadow Larry David because he's doing a movie based on Larry David. So you have the whole episode with two Larry Davids at the same time, and you can only imagine how awful that is for everybody else around them. It's outstanding stuff. This whole season, by the way, like, in terms of how the world has changed, basically this was the Me Too year. They tackled on Me Too, where Larry David is accused of sexual harassment. Although in this case, and if you know the show, he didn't harass anybody. He didn't do anything. Because of how he is, it came off that way, and he's being sued left and right. And then the other big storyline is he opens a spite store. He opens to compete with Mocha Joe. Because he hates Mocha Joe so much. And so the whole season is him building up to opening up Latte Larry's, is what he calls it.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
It just writes itself, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. I'm sure season 11 will be very COVID-centric.
And then, at the moment, I am... the current sitcom that I am binging is Malcolm in the Middle. One of the many sitcoms that just I went back and revisited because of WandaVision, as I've been talking about for weeks now on this show. And talk about, aging very well. I did watch the whole series when it was airing, I think at Nick at Night and FX like 10 years ago, in reruns, I mean. For whatever reason, it is just landing so much more with me now. Maybe because I get more of the jokes now. I don't know. There's more of the impact.
I always thought
to
the
it.
show was amazing, so I'll throw that out there.
I watched every episode when I was watching it originally, so I of course enjoyed it as well.
Clearly, did not appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate it now so much more. So, I think with me. Obviously, there's not enough said about the comedic genius behind just that cast, but it also it's like I don't know, like taking a trip back in time, because that show is, I think, maybe the definitive like 2000s sitcom. And you know me, how at this point,
Nostalgia.
the 2000s especially is an era that we don't talk about enough. We're still up the 80s ass in the 90s. You know, we're littered with 80s nostalgia. And
It's
I'm just,
no one wants to talk about 9/11.
yeah, well, but everything about the look of the show and the sound of the show just it's just sending me all these wonderful memories and flashbacks, and also enjoying a great show at the same time. So I don't know. I've fallen in love again with Malcolm in the Middle. When was the last time you saw this show?
All the time.
What do you mean all the time? You watch it all the time?
All the time.
You've never once mentioned Malcolm in the Middle like the entire time we've done podcasts.
Malcolm in the Middle is one of my favorite shows of all time. You had said you'd watched it, so I had no need to bring it up. I had assumed, I don't know, all you people had watched it.
And so what, you'd assume there's nothing to discuss?
Yeah.
That's not how things work.
Well,
We watch them, and then we talk about them together, face to face. Okay. You just assumed there'd be nothing to talk about. Okay.
this is why. Because with you people,
Oh, God. Here we go with the insults and the accusations.
you people, when you like something, you are not afraid to come out and discuss it vehemently. So and you know, you guys said you watched it, especially you, and then you kind of didn't discuss it. I'm like, okay, well, they don't want to discuss it. Okay, whatever. I love the show.
Anyway, that's what I've been watching. Along with, of course, the films we'll be talking about at the end of the show. What have you been up to, Peter? What have you seen?
Work.
All right.
Well, no, I've been seeing. Okay, let me think. The 2 movies.
Mm-hmm.
That counts. Oh, I started to watch a bit of this. I thought it was very cute. Santa Clarita Diet.
On Netflix.
Yeah.
Drew Barrymore, right?
Yep. Drew Barrymore becomes a zombie in little old suburbs. Hilarity ensues. It got canceled after 2 seasons, though, so, which is weird because it was kind of a hit, I thought.
Yeah. Netflix has a long-standing history of inexplicable cancellations, don't they?
I don't know. A lot of their cancellations make sense to me. This one didn't. What else? It's a prank show called Prank Encounters. It's also on Netflix, and the host is the kid from Stranger Things, the one. Remember, he had like the 2 missing front teeth.
You're talking about Finn?
No.
Nolan Grazer?
No.
I don't know.
Never
You show me a picture.
Dusty? Is that his name?
Dustin? Oh,
Yes.
yes. I know who you're talking about.
Okay. That actor. I like it. I think it's fun. It's a scary prank show.
Okay.
And what I like about it is how elaborate it is. And I just think it's funny. Like, they literally, each episode is like a goddamn movie. Like, they have 2 people, and like the first episode, it's like they hired this girl to be a nanny, and then the mom's like, oh yeah, you know, her sister died a year ago. She fell out of the window, but the girl blames it on the doll that they have in the house, and like the girl acts creepy, and like the new nanny's like, what the fuck? And it's really, it's funny how goddamn elaborate it is. Like, they really build up this entire story. before it pops off at the end, and they're screaming and it's scared, and I don't know. I like prank shows, and it's really well done. So yeah, I was watching that. Does 90 Day Fiancé count?
Sure. Yeah.
That show. I don't know what to tell you. It's a goddamn national treasure. I hate those kinds of shows, but that's the only one.
That's the only one.
It should be required viewing. It's magical. Yeah, other than that, that's about it. No, that's not true. I saw something else. Jupiter's Legacy. It's the new live action superhero show based off the comic book by Mark Millar that was just dropped by Netflix. I've never read the comic, but I saw the show. It was like 8 episodes. It was boring. I don't know. I didn't care for it.
Oh, I thought it was gonna be something good.
No, maybe the comic's good, but I didn't really care for the show.
Oh, I haven't heard much about it.
Yeah, that might be a reason. Most people seem to be rather lukewarm on it. And maybe that's why I really don't like it. Because there's nothing worse than lukewarm to me.
Yeah.
So.
That's not fun.
Yeah.
It's not fun wasting your time on that either.
Yeah. Yeah, especially when it's like 8 episodes and they're fucking hour long, and it's just like, ugh.
It reminds me of Iron Fist.
Yeah. No, not that bad. But it is that thing of like, this is a lot of investment for something I don't care that much at all about. So, yeah, and that's it.
All right. Well, let's get into a lot of the news. So let's get into some trailers. Let's talk about The Grey Knight. This is a new film that is from the studio A24. It seems to star Dev Patel and others. This is a trailer that Peter was
seems?
Well, I don't know. I mean, from what I saw. This is a trailer that Peter was insistent that I see so we can discuss. Interestingly, of course, if it weren't for Peter, I would not even know this thing even existed. So there is that. Peter.
Okay. Do you know who the director is?
No.
He goes by the name of David Lowery. He directed your favorite film of all time, Pete's Dragon. You know, the Disney live action remake of another live action film from the 70s?
Oh, that
Pete's
one.
Dragon. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Everyone has already forgotten about. But no, he's actually made some really good films. The last film that he made that I really enjoyed, and I've talked about it quite a bit on here, I think, was A Ghost Story.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah, I like him as a director. And this trailer, the first trailer, it's like, I don't know what this is, kind of. It's very pretty and stuff. It's like, okay, I don't really know what this is. With this trailer, it's very clear it is an old-timey sword and sorcery tale. Mm-hmm. It's a direct Arthurian tale. The Green Knight. That's a real old tale about Arthur's nephew or whatever, a member of the Knights of the Round Table. And I can't remember where I saw this or I read this. That the director thought about making the film after he was like going through his old Willow action figures. Do you know what Willow is?
Yeah, the movie from Ron Howard or whatever.
Yeah, with Lucasfilm and yeah, and it's like this really. The trailer really sells this old-fashioned, like, dreamlike, mesmerizing sword and sorcery film that, like, it's like second anticipated film of the year for me right now.
Is it? Okay.
Yes, it's very much up my own alley. And I think if you saw the trailer, you would see that.
I mean, it looked pretty big for an A24 film.
Yes.
Big budget.
Bigger than most A24 films.
And the scale of it, obviously, yeah.
You have the scale, the director, there's hinges of horror, but it's still adventure and that sort of stuff. So, yeah.
There's some great potential in this, from what I saw. I thought it was a beautifully cut trailer. The images are beautiful. There's that great intrigue that you had just mentioned. And I didn't even... Do we have a release date for that film?
This year? I don't fucking know.
Okay, sometime this year. But it looks really interesting. So
you think we got another Lighthouse situation on our hands?
The Lighthouse is it's a movie. That's
what I mean.
I mean, it's a trailer. It's not the movie itself. I guess you have to ask me again when we get there.
I get it. There's no Marvel logo. It's okay.
Great. All right. So, speaking of Marvel, I guess they have a trailer for Venom 2.
I saw that.
Yeah. Tell me about it, because I didn't see it whatsoever. I'm sorry. I have a hard time watching trailers in period, honestly. But especially if it's a movie that I just don't give a fuck about. I'm sorry. Why would I give a fuck about the Venom 2? I didn't bother watching the first one because it looked awful. I didn't care that people think that Tom Hardy was funny in the movie. I didn't care the fact that it made $700 million worldwide. I didn't bother watching it because I didn't give a fuck. It's intriguing that Andy Serkis is directing it. But again, why would I care? I don't.
And why are we talking about the trailer?
Because people care. For whatever reason. And it was successful as it was. And I assumed you watch it, so tell me what you think of Into the Carnage. I don't know, whatever the fuck it's called.
That is what it's called. They are doubling down on the humor.
Okay.
And Carnage is in it.
Okay.
Those are the two biggest takeaways. Because they really sell the whole, like, comedy duo roommate thing.
Oh, okay.
Between Eddie Brock and Venom. Mm-hmm. And then the second half is just going, like, Carnage. You know, that's something y'all excited to see. And then it was over. And that's kind of it.
Whatever.
Similarly, I didn't watch the first one. I don't think. Maybe I did and I just forgot.
We never talked about it. All right. There was another trailer for A Quiet Place Part 2, also directed by John Krasinski. This one, miraculously enough, I did see. Even though the first movie, well, I think is quite good. And I enjoyed. I'm not crazy about it, like most people are.
It's good. I agree. It's not like the greatest movie ever, but it's a really good time. It's one of those movies where it's like you would want to see in a movie theater with a packed crowd. It's really the best way to watch it.
And this is a good trailer, you know, for what it was. I can't help but wonder, though, and this is kind of what most of us felt, that you can only go down from the first film, because they're really going all in and explaining what this threat came from, these alien creatures, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the only film that's ever been able to do that and be successful in its own right is Aliens.
Yeah.
And I feel like every time they have a second go at it, it's just...
It never works.
It's just a step down. Even if it's good to some extent, it's just always a step down. Mm-hmm. So, we'll see. I'll watch it.
Okay. West Side Story. We forgot to talk about this trailer.
That's how forgettable it is.
That's for good reason, because we we had, I think this was dropped the night that the Oscars happened,
Yeah.
right? And you can tell how much of an impression it made that we just forgot to talk about it. It was a collection of images.
And music.
Was there music? I forget.
Yeah.
Um,
It had the whistling. I can't do it, sorry. But it's like...
you just tried to whistle.
Try to whistle. No, can't do it. But you know that famous whistle from the film.
Uh-huh.
I'll watch it.
Yeah, I will too.
It looks very pretty. It's a beautiful film.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just kind of annoyed that it wasn't modern day.
Right.
Because it is that thing of like, why remake it?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But no, like, so far all the trailers, except maybe for Venom, it's like either, well, except for the Green Knight 2, that one's like, I really, really want to see it. But all the other ones, it's like, I'll watch it eventually.
Sure, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, this one was disappointing. I was expecting to feel more than nothing.
It is
out of
a
this.
teaser trailer. Maybe that official trailer will hit you with the feels.
Yeah, because I'm just really curious to see, this is the first musical that Spielberg has made? Technically speaking, I believe.
I guess, yeah. I can't think of anything.
I know once upon a time, his movie Hook, originally that was supposed to be a musical. But it didn't end up being that way.
Mm.
As we all know. All right, and then another trailer for In the Heights. This comes to us, I think John Chu, who is the director of Crazy Rich Asians, and from the quote-unquote brilliance of Lin-Manuel Miranda, as we're all contractually obligated to remind you, in case you forgot for a single second, that he is the biggest thing on the planet.
You hating on Mr. Hamilton himself?
I liked Hamilton more than you did, so let me just remind people of that. This, I think, also had a trailer around the same time that West Side Story had its trailer.
Probably.
Yeah, its recent trailer. It had a first trailer about a year ago, or over a year ago at this point. And yeah, what do you think about this one?
If it's similar to like Hamilton, it's gonna be sappy and on the nose, but it's gonna be something people really love and connect with, and the music will be good. Because I really like the music in Hamilton. I was like, yeah, it was good. So yeah, maybe not necessarily my cup of tea, but if I like it, I'll like it, you know?
Sure. Yeah, it looks exactly what Lin-Manuel Miranda does.
Yeah.
And I think all those things you just said about how people will respond to it, I think are true.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I have a hard time gauging as to how much I'm going to care about the music, only because of what genre of music it is. And it's the same thing that Lin-Manuel Miranda does. Like, I love the music in Hamilton, but I don't love it to the point where I'm like listening to it like at all. Like, the only songs from Hamilton that I happen to maybe frequent from time to time are the ones that are not of the rap variety.
That's right. I forgot. You don't like minority music.
I wasn't crazy about it, but I'm sure I'll like it, and I'm sure people are gonna be obnoxiously passionate about this, and I'm sure it'll be genuinely great.
I like all kinds of music, so...
No, you don't. You actually don't. All right, let's go on to some casting news and some upcoming projects that were announced this week. So Bong Joon-ho, if you recall, the director of Parasite, which won Best Picture, and he himself won Best Director a few years ago, is working on a new action horror animated film about deep sea creatures. That's literally all the details we have at the moment. But this sounds unlike anything else I know that is being worked on today. And I can't wait to see it.
I love the pitch. That is
action,
a fantastic
horror, animated, and it's about deep sea creatures.
Action horror animated deep sea creature film directed by Bong Joon-ho. Yeah. I don't need to know anything else.
Nope.
I'm there fucking day one.
Great. I don't know if I think we're getting this next year. I assume it'll be 2022 if this is just announced.
Really? Because animated films kind of take a while, don't they?
Yeah. Oh well. I guess we'll see when that happens. Steven Spielberg is working on what is being called an autobiographical film about himself. It's titled The Fabelmans. They just recently got a title. This is from Slash Film. The film sounds like it could be the director's most personal project yet, since it's based loosely on his own childhood growing up in Arizona. Michelle Williams is playing a character inspired by Spielberg's mother. Paul Dano is playing a man inspired by his father. And Seth Rogen is on board to play a guy who's based on Spielberg's favorite uncle. Spielberg is co-writing the script with Tony Kushner, who has written the screenplays for movies like Munich, Lincoln, the upcoming West Side Story, and marks the first time Spielberg will participate in writing a screenplay in 20 years. The last one, I believe, was for AI, artificial intelligence. And that wasn't all him. I think it was Kubrick at first, and then he passed away. This is really interesting, and considering how fast they're moving on this, I do want to remind everyone, I have a feeling that this is something that he's working on as a response. Like, he recently lost both of his parents within like 3 years of each other. Like, I think that he lost his mom in early 2018, and then last year in 2020 he lost his father. I think the mom was like 98 and he was like 100 or something. So
damn.
Yeah.
I mean, his whole career has been about his relationship with his dad. So I guess might as well just cut out the middleman. Make a film literally about the two of them. And yeah, maybe with them dying, it's just like, yeah.
They're currently looking for somebody to play basically Spielberg.
Timothy Chalamet. No, wait. Who's the little one that they always cast?
Jacob Tremblay. You
want to bet $500?
That could happen.
Because you could only ever cast one. To be fair, there's not a lot of good kid actors. I'll give you that. But still.
And Spielberg has a history of finding them. So he could find one that he really likes. It's an open cast call. Last I checked. And him writing a screenplay, we talked about it before, he never does that. Like, he never does that. Like, the only films I think we've ever discussed where he has had a hand in writing anything has been AI or Poltergeist, which he didn't direct.
Yeah, so you know this is something special to him.
Yeah. And he has Tony Kushner, who has worked with him on Munich, which is great. Lincoln, which is great. And then West Side Story, which we have yet to see. So I'm very excited for this, and I can't wait to see it. They're saying that most likely 2022. Some are saying maybe late this year, but he already has a movie coming out late this year. So, and a movie that I'm sure he and the studio wants to submit for awards considerations, so they might want to space those two out. So I would think that this is a film we're looking at for next year. All right. Now for
awards season.
Yes, awards. And now for some casting news coming out of the world of Knives Out. They've recruited some talent. They're currently casting the next movie, Knives Out 2. And at the moment, Janelle Monáe, Dave Bautista, Edward Norton, and Catherine Hahn have joined Daniel Craig in the ensemble. And the whole world collectively lost their minds.
Well, Twitter. This is good. That's a good cast. I particularly really enjoy the additions of Catherine Hahn and Dave Bautista.
Yeah.
Those two are my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Janelle Monáe. That's how you say it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. She's great. I have seen her in some stuff, and I like her. And then, who was the fourth one?
Edward Norton.
Edward Norton. Edward Norton is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
But for whatever reason, he's never been like a sell for me. You're like, oh, it's Edward Norton. Okay. He's actor guy.
Yeah.
He's not someone where it's like, oh my God, Edward Norton, I gotta watch this. Even though he is like a fantastic actor. But no, I'm surprised we haven't gotten more, because they were dropping them every day, those announcements. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be a big cast, because that's kind of the whole point. So we're probably still have like 5 more cast announcements.
Yeah, and I'm sure
more.
we'll hear about them in the next week or so.
Mm-hmm. Now this is going to be in Europe, where they say they're filming Greece.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So they're going from, I don't know, where were they in New York and
New England?
New England. No, I'm really excited. Now they're in Greece, new cast. I'm really interested to know what the mystery is.
Yeah,
that's because I'm waiting for that new synopsis, like, because I thought that you always want a good hook for a mystery story, and with this one, the Thrombies, it's like, oh, the Thromby in his big mansion, he died on the night of his, what was it, 90th birthday or 88, something like that, and everyone in the family is a suspect. It's like, okay, great hook. I want to know what the hook is for this one. But other than that, I mean, every cast announcement gets me more and more excited. And again, I'm just really happy that all of this project and the whole thing exists.
Yeah, I haven't seen Edward Norton in anything in a long time.
Apparently he's difficult.
From what I hear, and I think that some of that was used in Birdman. He was amazing in Birdman.
I think he played himself in Birdman.
Basically. Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. Also, Bautista. I love the story at IndieWire this week where he was gave an interview with them and was talking about how the role in Blade Runner really opened a lot of doors for him. And I gotta admit, like, I remember, like, after watching that movie, I did look at him differently. Like, okay, this guy, he's capable of so much more than people are giving credit for Bautista.
I'm glad, though. I'm really, really glad. And he knew what he wanted to do. Like, he's kind of, to me, like the
The Rock,
anti a lot of these guys. Because there's a story that James Cameron told one late night show, I can't remember, about Arnold Schwarzenegger when he first cast him in The Terminator, and how, this big, barely can speak English, burly guy, of Schwarzenegger comes to him and he says, like, I don't want to be an actor, I want to be a movie star. And James remembers going like, okay, yeah, sure, whatever. But he did it. He became a movie star. And I think Dave Bautista's the opposite. I don't think he necessarily wants to be a movie star. I think he wants to be an actor. And I think those are the roles he's really looking for. And of course, everyone wants to be a movie star, even if you are a quote unquote actor. But he's looking for roles that he doesn't want to be the tough guy. He doesn't want to be the funny guy. He wants to be an actor. He wants to take on different roles that he can push himself in and grow as an actor. And I think that's really cool. And he made that happen, because I'm sure after he got Drax, he could have typecasted himself. Again, he could have done what The Rock does. He could have done what a lot of these former wrestlers do, but he's like, no. He was very particular about the roles he picked, and that's leading him down the career he wants. And it's like, good for him.
Another one of these actors that have come out of the world of wrestling that has my interest anyway is John Cena.
Oh, yeah. I like him.
Yeah.
We're friends. I have a picture.
Okay. Oh, yeah, you are. Like, he feels like one of those that legitimately is like going for something than just, like typecasting himself,
Mm-hmm. I think he's going for the movie star stuff too, but
of course
he's at least doing different roles.
So like he's been in the Bumblebee movie, he's been in Blockers, the comedy film, and then he's in Suicide Squad. So pretty great roles.
Yeah. He's going for different things, I feel. And yeah, I'm pretty impressed with him. I'm really excited to see what he does in the Suicide Squad. And Peacemaker, when he has his own show. Who James Gunn, I think, said there is going to be a season 2.
Wow. Okay.
So in his mind, it will be more than one season.
All right. We'll come back if there are any more updates next week with Knives Out. Adult Swim has revived the Venture Brothers, Aqua Teen Hunger Force, and Metalocalypse for direct-to-video releases. Like direct-to-video movies, and then it'll also be on their HBO Max at some point. Were you a fan of any of these shows?
Which shows specifically? Name
Venture Brothers, Aqua Teen, or Metalocalypse? Those three.
I have not seen any of them.
Really? You've never seen any of these?
Nope.
Not even like an episode?
Maybe I did, late one night.
Right.
When Adult Swim was on.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't remember anything specific.
I would have thought for sure like these would be up your alley. Like Venture Brothers most reminds me of like something like Archer, which I know you're a big fan of.
Yeah, but Archer, it ran for a while before I even watched Archer. Archer was that show where it's like, oh yeah. Oh. And then I finally saw it. I'm like, oh, I love it. So maybe Venture Bros, the way people talk about it, I think I would like it out of those three.
Mm-hmm.
For sure, I think I would like that one. But yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those things where I haven't seen them.
All right, then. Well, cool for those who are fans of those shows. And I know Metalocalypse. Wasn't that one of the shows that John Schnepp worked on?
Yeah, I think he directed on Metalocalypse, yeah.
That's where that name rung a bell to me. For John Schnepp, rest in peace. He was formerly on the Collider team well before it disbanded. It's
he took the greatness with him.
Basically, yeah. And then Boyd Holbrook has been cast in Indiana Jones 5. Boyd Holbrook played one of the antagonists in Logan. Of course, the same director from Logan. James Mangold is directing Indiana Jones 5. And at the same time, speaking of typecasting, Mads Mikkelsen, who we'll also be discussing later on in the show, I guess outed himself as the main villain for the movie.
Is he playing like 3 villains in 3 major franchises this year?
That's it. That's what he does, basically. So he's doing Indiana Jones 5, he's doing the Harry Potter movie, and then what else is he?
There's another one he was doing, and I can't remember which.
Doctor Strange?
Was it? Oh, yeah. I think there was rumors that he was coming back, right?
I don't know. I think they've been retracted last I saw.
I don't know. Either way, they're playing him as the villain guy. His best villain role, by the way, is Hannibal. Yeah, he's someone who's like, yeah, I guess I got typecasted. Oh well.
He's getting paid.
That's the thing. I bet you he's getting paid very handsomely.
These are big franchises: Harry Potter, Indiana Jones, Marvel, and then of course there was the Star Wars money from Rogue One. Although he wasn't a villain.
He wasn't
in
a
that
bad.
one.
Yeah, he wasn't a villain in that one.
But to Boyd Holbrook, who I really enjoyed in Logan.
I like him. Mm-hmm.
And I think it made it out to seem like he is not being a villain here. He's more of a protagonist.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. They're doing more This movie seems to be moving along now.
Yeah, we have Mads Mikkelsen, Boyd Holbrook, and I believe Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because they're doing a lot of casting is starting to come out, so it's finally happening, I guess.
It's finally being made.
Yeah. Still very apprehensive, but I'm really interested to see.
Let's be honest. These are some inspiring casting choices.
Yeah. We still have no idea what they're... Well, again, not true. We know what's his name's going to be the villain. But I like all these actors.
Yeah. So it seems like, are they aiming for 2022 for this movie?
They're moving fast. I don't know if they're moving that fast.
So 2023.
I would say.
Okay. So Indiana Jones 4 came out 2008.
Mm-hmm.
And Indiana Jones 5, 2023. Oh, God. Wow.
Yep. Let's be real. It's Steven Spielberg's fault.
Yeah. Yeah.
He never wanted to make it, so he'd kick the can down the road before he finally just said, fuck it. I'm never making this. Someone else make it if you guys want it.
Yeah. All right, let's get into some industry news. Disney has decided that Marvel Studios' Shang-Chi will be a theatrical-only movie. It will not go to Disney Plus. I think alongside Ryan Reynolds' Free Guy. And they have also now, alongside other distributors, have shortened their theatrical windows from, I think it was a number of 70 days to like 45 days now. So a bit of a double-edged sword here. What do you make of Shang-Chi being a theaters-only offering?
Makes sense. Like we were talking earlier about the CDC being like, yeah, basically do what you want to do. It makes sense that they're like, okay, let's try and get back to theater-only experiences. So yeah, that makes sense.
On the flip side, Jungle Cruise, which we just mentioned stars The Rock and Emily Blunt, it was at one point an exclusive theatrical release, but in the last week, they have changed that. Jungle Cruise will also premiere day and date on Disney Plus Premier Access. In this report by Deadline, they did say that Disney, at the moment, views the Premier Access approach as temporary and is actively seeking to revive the theatrical business. So we got two interesting announcements. So Shang-Chi is staying in theaters. Obviously, it'll be a very profitable film with it being under the Marvel Studios umbrella. But then you also have Jungle Cruise, which starred, honestly, some pretty big movie stars. It was going to make money, and it is a Disney live-action film based on a ride property. So it has that built-in factor in and of itself, but they've made the decision that that's going to be a day and date with Premier Access, and it is the fifth movie now to have that treatment alongside Black Widow, Raya and the Last Dragon, Mulan, and Cruella. What do you think?
Does this come out before Shang-Chi?
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense to me then. Maybe they feel it won't have the clout of a Marvel film, and they still want to make some of that moolah if they can.
Right.
Through Disney Plus, and also not as many people would be rushing out to the theaters to see it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they'll rush out to see a Marvel movie if it's like Jungle Cruise. I guess I'll wait. Well, we can see it at home. Maybe that. Okay. You know. So yeah, I guess that makes sense. Jungle Cruise. Yeah, that's not like a heavy hitter. I guess you could say The Rock is and Emily Blunt.
Mm-hmm.
But
inside sources at Variety are speculating that Walt Disney Studios chairman Alan Horn will leave finally at the end of this year. Alan Horn, who we've all been saying for years and years, has guided the ship of the Walt Disney Studios with endless live-action remakes, which we here have called some of the worst movies ever made.
That's fair. Yeah, I mean, bye-bye.
Yeah, please leave. And take Chapek with you, please.
Why? Wait, why? Okay, I don't...
We'll get to that. Don't worry. Disney Plus now has 103 million subscribers. They fell a little... Yeah, they gained around 3. They fell short of 1 million, I think by 3 or 5 million shy of what they had wanted to hit by this moment in time. But I got this off one of the reporters from Twitter about, the most recent quarterly subscription additions based and breaking it down by streaming service to see how, the streaming wars are panning out. And Peacock actually gained the most, 9 million subscribers this last quarter. Disney Plus, the second most with 8.6 million. Paramount Plus in third with 6 million subscribers. Netflix, 4 million. HBO Max gained 2.7 million. And Hulu, 2.2 million. A couple of asterisks there. I'm not sure if that HBO Max number is just HBO Max or if it's HBO Max combined with HBO Now, which is what we discussed some weeks back, that Warner Media is pulling a fast one there, to grease up those numbers. Peacock is there's a free version of Peacock, so that may be what's driving that subscription rate.
I was going to mention that.
Yeah. And then Paramount Plus, I don't know if it was the goddamn Meghan Markle interview that got those people to sign up. I mean, it could have been that. I know that they recently announced that the iCarly reboot is going to drop fairly soon. And one of the interesting things, though, is that what I'm curious to see is they're going to take the Lizzie McGuire approach that Disney didn't let Hilary Duff do. And that is they're going to have a show for an older audience than what the original was. And so I'm curious to see what that looks like, since we didn't get the Lizzie McGuire that many people really wanted because Disney just didn't want to go there. So I'm curious to see how that does on Paramount Plus. Any thoughts on any of these numbers?
No.
It's all pretty self-explanatory.
Fairly typical.
Okay, Variety. This is a hilarious story. Reports that Kevin Feige is going to stay at Marvel. And that apparently he has no wish, no desire, no ambition to run Lucasfilm. And many Star Wars fans cried as a result. Because,
Good.
Of course, as if you were aware, of course, Star Wars fans have been campaigning or lobbying maybe even for Kevin Feige to replace Kathleen Kennedy as the head of Lucasfilm. Never gonna happen.
It's okay. One day they'll wake up and they'll see Jon Favreau is now running Lucasfilm.
It's all kind of a useless thing because Kevin Feige basically already runs Star Wars. Why? Because Kathleen Kennedy just stole his playbook.
Yeah. Or Disney said, do what they do.
Yeah.
And these people, again, like, they are loving everything coming out of Star Wars right now. So it's
You're loving nothing.
Yeah, but I'm the one who's like, I'm fine. And they're the ones crying and complaining. Like, these people swore The Mandalorian Season 2 was the greatest thing ever made. I'm sure they're losing their shit over The Bad Batch and going like, yes, greatest thing since the Clone Wars. Because it is the Clone Wars. So it's like, you're happy. Shut the fuck up. Just be happy. I don't know.
I was interested, though, that when they I think they revealed some artwork for Star Wars Day a few weeks back, that they had the sequel characters placed pretty prominently. So I was surprised to see that.
They paid a lot of money for those. They're going to use them.
All right, let's get into some drama that's breaking down. So Variety is reporting that no one at Disney likes Bob Chapek. Evidently, from what I read, they want Bob Iger back because Chapek is kind of dismantling the way it used to be.
But that's how it works. Every time a new CEO comes in, they're like, fuck everything that the previous guy was doing. Right. Because I'm going to institute my own era. And I'm going to do my own thing. That happens every single time. Yeah. So, I don't know. That's how it works. Mm-hmm.
Gal Gadot has said that Joss Whedon threatened to destroy her career on Justice League.
Yeah. You gotta have a lot of confidence to just go like, hey, you A-list star, I'm gonna destroy your career. You gotta think pretty highly of yourself, right? Like,
and he's saying this at a time. This is a movie that was being reshot in 2017. I want to say the Me Too movement was well underway at this point. The balls for you to say something like that and not think it would come out, and then you'd get canceled as a result.
He was really riding high on himself. Yeah. I mean, pretty shitty thing to do, I feel.
Yeah. Yeah. That unfortunately isn't all the news with Gal Gadot this week. She apparently has muted her social media platforms after tweeting a tone-deaf support for Israel.
Did she tweet? I don't think she tweeted support. I think she said, was it support? From what I saw, it was like, please stop fighting, guys. This is equally wrong on both sides. Like something like that. The Middle East is a clusterfuck. Mm-hmm. It is highly, highly complicated with a lot of long, crazy history between a lot of different factions and people. And, America, we're very much sprinkled throughout that history, coming in and making it worse as well. So when people say like, hey, like this is really complicated, let's not try and boil this down to like good side, bad side. I agree. I agree. But what's happening particularly right now, it's not even like in us versus them or good side, bad side. It's just particularly bad that one side is what one side is doing to the other. Like, I'm not saying both sides are equally good, both sides are equally bad. I'm saying what is going on right now is it's not complicated.
It really isn't. Let me pull up the tweet here to be fair to Gal Gadot, what she said.
Yeah, let's be fair. This is her tweet.
My heart breaks. My country is at war. I worry for my family, my friends. I worry for my people. This is a vicious cycle that has been going on for far too long. Israel deserves to live as a free and safe nation. Mm-hmm. And this is the part that's... Our neighbors deserve the same. Okay.
So, yeah, that's what I mean. It was like a both sides thing.
I pray for the victims and their families. I pray for this unimaginable hostility to end. I pray for our leaders to find the solution so we can live side by side in peace. I pray for better days. Okay, so she was... Okay, so it's the both sides situation that's getting people pissed off. Okay.
And again, in the historical context, I would agree. But as far as like what's going on right now, what we're specifically talking about, like it's not.
No.
What's happening to the Palestinians? It's pretty bad. You know, they're being dragged out of their own homes. Their land is being, and their homes are being stripped from them. They're being attacked.
They're being shot at with missiles. Didn't they just take down a building with the AP and Al Jazeera news organizations in there?
Yes. And I do understand that Palestinians will fire rockets back and stuff, but Israel is such a powerhouse in comparison to the Palestinians.
Israel has the support of the United States government.
Yes, that's another thing, right? Like we're gonna give them like $3.5 billion in support.
Yeah,
authorized this year, I think, and it's kind of like a fight between an adult and a 4-year-old as far as like power levels.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you could say, you know, the 4-year-old did this and that, but they're also 4. Like they one hit and you could wipe them out. And then also in general, Israel is very, very far right. It's very scary to me.
They scare me. Like, let me just tell you, like, they come across as authoritarian to me with a lot of their tactics. And
they come out very fascistic.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, like fascistic.
Very, very far right. Very, yeah. The politics going on in that country. And I want to be very clear. The politics, not... Because people, like... We got to address this. Anytime you try to criticize
the state of Israel, you're accused of being anti-Semitic.
Yes, but the thing is, like, that's stupid. Okay, I'm highly, highly critical of the United States of America. It doesn't mean I hate all Americans. Or I guess a better comparison was like Nazi Germany. It doesn't. You should have been highly, highly critical of Nazi Germany and stuff they did, but it doesn't mean like, okay, I hate anyone with German blood. Like, what? Like, no.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you're racist towards Germans or something like that. You can be.
I just remember that episode of Rick and Morty where Rick kept going to alternate dimensions and they all ended up being like fascist regimes, and I was like, what? I'm sorry. Oh my god.
Yeah. We should push back against fascism wherever it comes from, right? And we don't push back on any one kind of person. You push back on the politics. So, yeah, being very clear, no anti-Semitism here. But yeah, the government itself, very far right. And that does scare me. But yeah, I don't know. I don't hate. I know a lot of people like to dogpile into the internet and stuff, but I don't feel any particular anger against Gal Gadot. She's, especially because, okay, she's Israeli. She was in the Israeli army. Well, they all have to. I think that's like mandatory thing. When you become of age, you join the military.
But that's a whole other issue.
Yeah, I don't like that either. Again, it's very hardcore nationalist propaganda shit. I don't like that stuff. So I understand that her family's there. She might feel the need to be a little bit more like, well, let's be even-handed.
Right.
And even though I disagree with her, I don't know. It's just, I don't feel the need to dogpile her either.
All right. Zack Snyder's back in the news. He apparently...
He left it? When did he leave?
I don't know. He has called Warner Media aggressively anti-Snyder in a recent interview.
Mm-hmm.
In response, I think, to a question about like what if there would be any upcoming projects. There won't, but he was asked that question. And
I'm sorry, but he's really coming off like an oblivious child.
Yeah.
I've been very pro Snyder throughout this whole thing concerning, you know, the announcement of the release of the Snyder Cut and him having his own say in the film and, you know, celebrating that, yay, you know, all this stuff was out. But like, they gave him Superman and they let him make the film he wanted to make. They gave him Batman versus Superman, the two biggest superheroes in the fucking world, and let him make whatever he wanted, clearly. Like, they let him make the film that he wanted to make. And then when they got bad reviews, when they underperformed, they took his Justice League movie, and yeah, that sucks and that's bad, but like, there's a reason why they did it. Because you had the two biggest superheroes of all time during the superhero boom, and you couldn't even hit $1 billion. Miss Marvel hit $1 billion. Like, I don't know how you didn't. So it's like, okay, so they took it away from you. But even then afterwards, they're like, okay, you can have your Snyder Cut. And he was able to have it. But he's still acting like like a victim or stuff. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure they were assholes and this and that, and it wasn't great, but he was given so much, I feel.
Yeah. Like,
more than any other director. He got to make his own little art house Batman vs Superman movie. They very clearly did not watch over him when he did that. And
let's be real.
Uh-huh.
That decision to let Zack Snyder do whatever he wanted cost Warner Brothers dearly. I mean, it pretty much sunk their cinematic universe.
Yes, that's the thing. And it's like he ignores all that, and he's like, why are they being so mean to me? Why don't they just let me make the $1 billion films that I want to make? Like, God, it's not that big a deal. And it's like, it is a big a deal. You are not entitled to make these movies. You are so unbelievably lucky that you have the 3 that you have. Like,
and we talked about the numbers. Barely anybody saw it on streaming either. So
it wasn't crazy on streaming. Man of Steel and BVS didn't do crazy numbers either. Mm-hmm. Critically, they did terrible. I know you got kind of a bad rap, but you're also not entitled to make all these $1 billion films that don't make as much money as they should and are critically panned. Like, if you would open your eyes, like, I feel like an understanding adult could go like, yeah, I love my movies and I think they're great, and obviously there's an audience for them, but I can't understand where WB is coming from, because they're not making the massive amounts of money that, you know, theoretically they should be. And yeah, whether I agree with it or not, they did get critically panned, and, you know, but he like shuts himself off to all of that and just says like, they're just being mean to me. Like, come on, don't do that.
It's unfortunate because it just gives license to his Snyder army to just once again go back out there and harass more reporters and harass more executives and whoever they can find on social media. And that's not nice. That's not fun. I mean, that's just not good, but they'll continue to do that. And I can also sense the frustration on part of many of the journalists that cover this, that they want this to die, and this story just keeps coming back again and again. Like, aren't we done with this?
He should just tell his fans, like, hey, it's not gonna happen. Okay? And that's okay. I would have loved to have made more. Clearly, it's not in the cards. I made 3 films that I'm proud of, and I know you love them. if you need more Snyder, come out and support my Army of the Dead film.
And he needs it based on how that's performing.
I'm going to watch it. Maybe not in theaters, but I mean, it's a Netflix movie to begin with. So, but I will support it. I will watch it. I'm excited to see it because I do like Zack Snyder. But it just feels like at this point, it's like, okay, like you're being kind of a kid about this.
Let's just move on, please.
Yeah.
All right, Gina Carano apparently is in the news again because she was included in a list of actors that Disney is submitting for the For Your Consideration campaign on behalf of The Mandalorian Season 2. Isn't that crazy? I'm sure there are like contractual obligations and they couldn't take it off, but I think it's just hilarious. Gina Carano.
I hope she wins. That'd be so much fun. Could you imagine that? Oh my god.
Yeah, that would be hilarious.
She
could accept the award via Ben Shapiro Studios.
She would. She'd have like the Daily Wire behind her.
Right.
She 100% would. I don't know. I think that'd be hilarious.
All right. Lakeith Stanfield has issued an apology for participating in a Clubhouse conversation that facilitated anti-Semitic remarks in a discussion about the teachings of the Nation of Islam.
Yeah, I mean, I would just like to reiterate again, anti-Semitism bad. Mm-hmm. Anti-Semitism very bad. And that does suck. Because when you like with the whole Israel thing, like you want to be clear about like I'm criticizing the government and there's no anti-Semitism involved, but anti-Semitic people will latch on to that issue because they feel it's like, oh, we can attack these people, and it's like no, and it's like fuck, like get the fuck away from me. And I think, I don't know what this was specifically about, like, what was it, the Nation of Islam?
Yeah, the teachings of Islam, yeah.
Okay. And I feel like, especially, I feel like there have been a lot of, like, I don't know, civil rights individuals that have been a part of the Nation of Islam. Mm-hmm. What's his name?
Malcolm
X.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, and all that.
Muhammad Ali.
Yeah. And again, there's nothing wrong with that, but with being Islamic.
Of course not, no.
But that doesn't mean, like, okay, go be anti-Semitic now. Like, no. Just don't hate anyone for their religion or the color of their skin or any of the above. You can hate them. You can hate them for their politics.
You'd think we'd learned that by now.
Yeah, it's a very clear message, but I don't know.
All right, Emily Blunt says she and her husband John Krasinski, have not been contacted by Marvel to star in the Fantastic Four. Speaking of fans' wishes, this is what she says. It's not that it's beneath me, but I don't like them. I really don't. In referring to superhero films, I think it's been exhausted. We are inundated. It's not that it's only the movies. It's all the TV shows as well. And it's not to say that I would never want to play one. It would just have to be something so cool, and then I would be interested. In general, I don't race to see superhero movies. They leave me feeling a little bit cold. I can't explain it. I can't get in there.
This is my favorite story. And as far as what she feels about, Marvel movies, that makes sense. I can feel that too. But I love this shit so much that I could, I guess, theoretically keep going forever, it seems. But the reason why I love the story is because it has been so goddamn annoying.
Yes.
Unbelievably annoying how everyone on the internet is like, oh yeah, like they're gonna be the Fantastic Four, yeah, like, and like they will not shut up with all like the fan art and like fan casting, like, oh yeah, can you imagine Emily Blunt and John Krasinski as in the Fantastic Four? Oh my god. And it's so annoying. I hate it. I hate fan casting stuff. I mean, I guess if anyone's listened to this, you know that.
Yeah.
I really, really hate it because it's always the most obvious, obnoxious choices in the world. Like, I remember when they were in Batman v Superman, and fucking Breaking Bad was real hot at the time. I think because it just ended. And everyone was like, "Oh,
Bryan Cranston.
Oh, Bryan Cranston. He should be Lex Luthor. He needs no one would shut up about saying, "Oh yeah, Bryan Cranston, Lex Luthor. Oh my god, can you believe it, Bryan?" Why? Because he played a bald, scary man. So it's like, there's always just like zero imagination to these fan casts every fucking time.
Well, it's like when we talk about, remember, to acknowledge our own history. And also to acknowledge how much we've grown since our early years here podcasting, but kind of in a similar vein, how people would also fan cast the live action remakes from Disney. How, remember, on this podcast feed, we've got 3 parts of what Kyle called remake remedies. Remember those?
Don't ever watch them. Everything I did on those episodes was because I hated the entire notion of... Yeah. So no, those are bad. Very bad. But yeah, I'm just glad so people can maybe finally shut up about this. Because guess what? They're gonna hire people completely different from John Krasinski
and Emily Blunt.
And Emily Blunt. They're gonna be entirely different, and then after they're hired and the movie comes out, for every single other role they are gonna name those 2 actors and be like, oh yeah, this actor should play this, and that they're just gonna move on to their uncreativity. They did the same thing with Tom Holland, right? Before they casted Spider-Man, everyone had all these names for who Spider-Man could be, and then when Tom Holland got casted, like, who the fuck is Tom Holland? But then after he was Spider-Man, everyone's like, oh my god, Tom Holland. Now any time, every fan cast is like, oh my god, Tom Holland. I saw a lot of people doing this, and I wanted to fucking punch a wall. They're like, oh yeah, Tom Holland should play the live action Invincible. And I was like, god damn you people.
The ones I saw were Tom Holland should play the live action Peter Pan, or Tom Holland should play the live action Ben 10. It's just, oh my god. And it made me want to die.
Yes. It's like, Jesus Christ, people. Watch more movies. For the love of God. But yeah, no, they're probably going to cast people you've never heard of, and then you're going to immediately fall in love with them, because that's usually what happens every time.
So, did you hear that NBC has canceled the Golden Globes?
I have no idea. I just know a lot of people are mad about this. I have no idea what they're mad about or like what's going on.
Well, this whole thing, remember, ignited a few weeks back during the telecast or before, because the original scandal was the fact that everyone found out they had no black people in their 80-plus member group. And so at that point, they announced that they were going to, create these new regulations they're going to invite more people of color in general to be as part of the Hollywood Foreign Press Association. And so last week or 2 weeks ago, they unveiled their proposed fixes, and absolutely no one thought they were good, which means it was basically nothing. On May the 6th, the HFPA revealed their proposed changes. And then what happened immediately is that Netflix responded by saying they would not submit their movies and television shows to the Globes until real change is made. And then immediately after that, Amazon Studios followed suit.
I am really surprised at how strong this response is.
Yeah.
Like, because I don't see a lot of people giving that much of a shit about, like...
The Golden Globes?
The Golden Globes and whether they have enough, minorities behind the scenes. Like, for sure, if someone comes across that story, they'll be like, yeah, that's not right. But, like, most people aren't banging at the door like, damn you, Golden Globe. Like, I just don't see enough people giving that much of a shit. But then the studios took, like, the hardest stances imaginable because of this. And I'm like, oh, shit, okay. I mean, I guess that's good. If better changes will come of it. But it is surprising to me of how hard they're just like, we're not going to submit anything. We're not going to show up. Weren't, like, some people sending back their Golden Globes?
Tom Cruise sent back his 3 Golden Globes.
Like, that's crazy to me. Like,
yeah.
I've never seen this strong a response.
Yeah.
Especially because there are other things that people have pushed for harder. And then they're just kind of like, well,
Yeah.
But here, they're like, fuck you, Golden Globes. You motherfuckers. Times are a-changing, I guess, maybe? I don't know.
It wasn't just that. Scarlett Johansson also hit them hard. Because she was saying that for years, she had been asked what she described as sexually invasive questions by the reporters that she described as bordering on sexual harassment. On top of all of this. And then, of course, as you mentioned, Tom Cruise sent back his Golden Globes. And then NBC decided to cancel the 2022 telecast, with them saying that maybe it'll come back in 2023 if enough changes have been made to the HFPA. If this means that there'll be more people of color in the membership and therefore in positions of power in this organization, then so be it. That's a net positive good as far as I'm concerned, and good on for all the people who are taking an actual stance on this. I guess as far as I'm concerned, where it is a bit of a disappointment for me, the Golden Globes telecast is by far the most entertaining of awards season. None of the other shows come close. And considering how awful the Oscars were this year,
God,
it's just going to be a snooze from here on out.
When it comes to the award shows, yeah.
So that's my disappointment. But hopefully the changes will be made and we can get back to them when they ever come back. All right, next story, and this is a doozy here. So Marvel's Shang-Chi and Eternals may face uphill battle to enter China. This comes from Variety. In a report on the MCU's Phase 4 films, the CCTV China movie channel aired a list of the U.S. release dates for 8 of the 10 scheduled films, but conspicuously left out Eternals and Shang-Chi. The channel is under the jurisdiction of China's powerful propaganda department. China, for those who are not aware, does not operate a free market cinema. All foreign-made films seeking release in Chinese theaters must receive government approval and pass censorship. For a reminder, at the moment, China really hates Chloe Zhao because she said some not nice things about them. And as a result, they completely censored her Oscar win. She won Best Director, and they completely censored her out of the news. And then it goes deeper than that with Shang-Chi, where Chinese audiences are upset at a number of changes made to the movie, apparently. They're not happy that they changed the name of the Mandarin. It was originally called Fu Manchu.
So they wanted his name to remain Fu Manchu?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then many more online commenters, this is gathered from Variety, have slammed Simu Liu, the star of the movie, and Awkwafina. And this is where it gets
Yeah.
Strange, but let me just read this. They're attacking Simu Liu and Aquafina for not meeting the typical. And I want to remind people I'm reading off. These are not my words, but I'm reading off something here. Typical thin-chinned, high-nosed, pale-skinned, double-eyelidded standards of ideal Chinese beauty. They feel the casting discriminates against Chinese people's appearance. A lot of things to unpack here, Peter. Where would you like to start?
We'll start with the more yikesy stuff, because how can you not? In China, it appears to me, at least when it comes to films, they are very, I don't know what the word is, vain, but they have very particular beauty standards for what they want to see in their actors and films. And that's like half the reason why they see films. And if the actors don't pass those standards, they will very harshly criticize the films for that. It's kind of insanely fucked up. They did that with Star Wars.
Oh, yeah.
Like, a lot of the bad reviews were like, well, why weren't there attractive people? They should have gotten more attractive people. And it's like, fuck.
But there were attractive people in Star Wars.
Not to them.
Okay.
Like, they're saying that Simon Liu isn't attractive. And I'm like, the guy... okay. It's not even the different beauty standards. It's just like, fuck you, I'm not gonna watch a movie with ugly people in it. It's like, whoa. It's a weird thing, man. I don't know. I don't think that's cool.
No, I don't. Yeah.
So there's that, but then you have the Chloe Zhao stuff. I honestly think American studios. It's interesting, right? The Asian blockbusters that they're making aren't for Asia. They're not for China. They're for the Asians in America.
Yeah.
Because it seems like, particularly China, they do not care for when Hollywood tries to do anything representing them and their culture.
Best case scenario, they don't care. Worst case, they flat out hate it and boycott it.
Yes.
In a recent situation, I think both Mulan, the live action remake, and Raya and the Last Dragon, Chinese audiences did not like those movies.
But what's interesting is Chinese Americans, they like that, right? And
Chinese Americans,
they want
Asian
that.
Americans enjoyed it, yeah.
Asian Americans, they want to see themselves represented in Hollywood. But it kind of feels like outside America, particularly in China, they're like, fuck you. Like, we don't want to see this.
Yeah.
We see it every day. We want to see your American stuff. Like, we want to see Fast and Furious, with crazy bikers drinking Coronas and driving through tanks and I don't know what. But they just don't like when they try and do more Asian stuff. I don't know what to tell you. So that's going to be interesting. I think for Eternals, it's very clear that it's because of Chloe Zhao, right?
That's the only reason.
That's the only reason with Eternals. They got issues with Chloe Zhao. So let's see what happens with that.
So do you feel like there's a good chance Eternals is just going to get not admitted in for release?
Well, they clearly haven't made a decision yet, right? Because they said they announced the 8 out of the 10.
Yeah.
There's 2 slots left. Those are the 2 movies. So maybe they're thinking it over. They're not sure. Maybe they want to play hardball with Disney and go like, Let's see the films, what we gotta censor and what we don't gotta censor. There's a chance, though, maybe not. Especially if some reporter asks Chloe Zhao a question and maybe she answers too honestly pertaining to the Chinese government or something like that. But yeah, with Eternals, it's very clearly an issue with Chloe Zhao, and then with the other one,
Right.
Yeah, it's that thing of don't try and make Chinese movies. We don't want that shit, apparently.
Well, the China market is just about the second biggest profitable market for movies in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And for blockbusters like Marvel films to be denied entry,
It's a
that would
big
be
deal.
That's devastating.
Yeah. But what I find so interesting is the fact that it isn't for China. It's for Chinese Americans.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very American film in that way. It's like Minari, right?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it, but I assume like it's an American story.
It's an American story, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's for Asian Americans. Yeah, that's gonna be interesting to see how that turns out.
What's really interesting is I wonder what this decade's going to look like, because I'm getting the sense China is making more and more of a deal about this. Like, I wonder how what if they make this a regular habit where they just deny entry to most American movies, most big blockbusters anyway. That could change the landscape even more.
I don't see them doing that.
Hopefully not.
Because they do love American blockbusters, but I can maybe...
Well, Fast and Furious 9, I assume, is going to be big with them.
Yes, they love the Fast and Furious movies, and they do love the Marvel films, like, clearly, right?
Yeah, they loved Venom, so they can't wait for Venom 2.
Yeah. So I don't think they'll ever, like, cut off American films, but maybe you can see them as maybe tensions grow, because it does feel like tensions with China are growing between the United States and them, particularly due to trade and trying to be the top superpower dog in the world. Maybe they become a little bit more strict with the films they allow in. I could maybe see in the future like a Captain America movie. Maybe they're like, let's shut this down. Maybe something like that. But.
All right. Well, that's about the news I have. Took us 2 hours to get through it, but here we are. So let's finally get into our reviews. Peter, can we start off with... oh, boy. Let's start off with another round, shall we? One of the last remaining vestiges of 2020 that we have yet to discuss. Currently streaming on Hulu. And... it is an international film from Denmark. It involves watching the movie with subtitles unless you happen to speak the native language, which I would assume most people in America would not. So, Peter, can you give us our Letterboxd sponsored synopsis for another round?
Okay. Directed by Thomas Vinterberg. 4 high school teachers launch a drinking experiment upholding a constant low level of intoxication. For much of the film, I wasn't sure if they were high school teachers or college professors. And I just think that's because, like, in other European countries, I think the age for alcohol is lower.
That's what was throwing you off?
I think that was throwing me off.
Okay, yeah. So
I think high schoolers can drink and it's no big deal. Like,
believe it or not, America is far from the best country on earth, and many of the reasons, or one of the reasons, could be that most countries, I think at this point, the drinking age is far lower than the
it's
US
probably like
has
16 or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was throwing me off a bit. That's my American bias coming in, throwing me off. But yes, and then of course starring Mads Mikkelsen and other names I do not want to butcher. So yeah, you liked it.
Yeah. This was one of the last movies that I had to see for 2020 because we're doing the top 10 pretty soon here on
you
the
tell
channel.
the others.
Though I've been trying to tell them, they've been evading me. So
Time's up. Just make the list with whatever they've seen.
I mean, they've had months at this point. Let's be fair. They've had half a year by the time this thing will be released. So, yeah. This film is interesting, right? Based on appearances, and when you look at that premise, you might be under the impression that maybe this will be, just like a blast through and through. And it is in spaces. But there are certain directions this movie takes. Also, with like what particularly is on its mind and what it has to say here, that you don't quite expect. When you start off this movie. But I was kind of emotionally floored by it. I wasn't expecting it to be that. When I turned the movie on and, pressed play. But it was surprisingly moving. Moving from an early part of the movie. There are some scenes that, and I've always really appreciated Mads Mikkelsen in the very limited offerings that I've seen him in. But this movie, I think, completely changed overall what a tremendous actor he is. And I'll just, we can get into the particulars, but I flat out loved the film through and through. It moved me, and it also made me feel, things that just about no other movie made me feel in 2020. It had moments of just pure euphoria, but then also moments where you're so invested with these characters. There were some hilarious scenes where they're just completely drunk out of their minds. But there are also some awkward scenes where you're trying to look away because someone is drunk at the worst possible moment and you don't want them to get caught with what they're doing. Boy, I love the film. I truly felt that this should have received a Best Picture nomination, and Mads
Too
really
foreign.
Well, Parasite. Hello. And Mads really should have been talked about more so to be in the running for Best Actor. I love the film. I think this kind of, without taking too much of a knock on another movie that I actually really like, but this is kind of the life-affirming movie. I'm not going to say its name, but I'm sure those listening would know what I'm talking about, that I wished a different life-affirming movie would have been like. Like it got me in all the right places.
I think you need more clues.
It gave a one of the best endings to a movie I've ever seen. I love this film. I love this film, and I really wish more people would talk about it, and I really wish more people would see it. And it's one of these experiences that, again, it transcends the fact that you're watching this with, like, you're reading the words because you can't understand the language without it. But I think it's also important to say you don't lose the impact of the performances as a result. And beyond just Mads here, I think the characters, you really do get invested with them. I think Mads, his character is Martin, and then his friends, Tommy, Nikolai, and Peter. I loved the film through and through. If you can't tell.
I couldn't.
I'm going to say that 10,000 times. So those are my feelings toward it, and we can get further into the particulars. But Peter, what did you think?
I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good.
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Gosh.
Mads Mikkelsen, very, very great performance. He I think does a better Ryan Gosling than Ryan Gosling.
Ooh, okay.
You know what I mean? Where it's this, it's a very stoic, underhanded sort of actor.
Yeah,
it's very everything's very close to the chest. All the acting is very. I don't say the acting is minimal, but it's very. It's I don't even know how to fucking explain it.
Understated.
That's a good word. The acting is very understated, but it's good. It's really good, and it's little eye movements. Maybe he gets choked up a little bit when he talks, but it's all very, very understated, and that's something that Ryan Gosling is kind of known for with his acting. But I feel like sometimes he can. It's just kind of crosses over into the realm of just boring with him. Whereas I don't feel that happens with Mads Mikkelsen, especially not here.
I agree, yeah.
Here he's fantastic. For one, I think it's a really interesting premise. This idea of like, the perfect alcohol levels are like 0.5 over or under what they are here. So like, if we're constantly drinking just a little bit, then, we'll be at the perfect levels. And, let's see how life changes for us. And of course, they keep upping the dosage and, hilarity ensues. No, that would be the American version. The American version would star John C. Reilly. And, they'd shit on the floor and vomit everywhere. And be like, whoa.
That just sounds dreadful.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it. It's gonna happen because they're doing it in an American remake. They are.
Yeah.
Every time a fantastic foreign film comes out, they have to do an American remake, and it's like, just teach Americans how to fucking read. It's just subtitles, people. The rest of the world has to deal with it. You Americans can too. No, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. Again, it's just sort of this. It is a sort of midlife crisis film,
Yes. Yeah. Because basically at the heart of this, you have, with Mads' character, Martin, he seemingly has just become disengaged with life, Mm-hmm. Like he's just not really actively involved in, I guess, a mental way, honestly. He's kind of just checked out. And you see how it's kind of affected, his marriage is not in a great place. His teaching is not in a great place. We start the movie off with him being ambushed by a bunch of parents, like saying, hey,
that fucking hell? Ambush, man.
Right? Can you believe that? And the principal was in on it. She was like, just threw him to the wolves.
They're just like, yeah, we don't think it's right that our kids should have to take a big test because you fucking suck as a teacher.
Basically, yeah.
And he's just kind of like, we'll see what we can do. Like, I don't. God damn. But yeah, I'm sure this has been said before, but like another round, double meaning, like the alcohol, but also like another round of life.
Right. Yeah.
And yeah, it's sort of him sort of latching on to this idea to try and, well, exactly like I did, him reaching for another round of alcohol is him trying to reach for another round of life and sort of become reacquainted with the world, with his work, with his family, with his wife. Yeah. And it ain't all easy. It's not, I'll tell you the answer. The film doesn't say, yeah, just drink more and life will be better. That's not the message of the film.
No.
But I do think it endorses a certain state of mind.
Yeah.
That sometimes can come when you drink, but I think it's sort of like you shouldn't have to drink. to have that state of mind.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really good film.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. His connection with his friends, just their antics when they first start, and as it keeps going along, and they start pushing things that they probably shouldn't be pushing. And I agree.
Part of the fun is seeing how much they can actually get away with, and they get away with some things you just wouldn't think.
They do get away with some shit. I'll tell you that.
And there's some shit they don't get away with, and that really hit hard too.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I really love the ending. The ending really made the film.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to say, what the fuck? Why wasn't that song nominated for Song of the Year at the Oscars? You know, as a song that actually was.
Was it an original song?
I think it was. If it wasn't, well, then my bad. But if it was, then what the hell?
I don't know.
You know?
I think they should instate a rule where you gotta play the song in the film in order for it to be nominated. Because I'm tired of like, oh yeah, best original song for this movie. And it's like, I've never heard this fucking song before. And I saw the movie. They're like, oh no, yeah, it was on it was in the soundtrack. And it's like, that doesn't mean shit then. Like, yeah.
What's it here? I got this interview from with director Thomas Vinterberg from Vogue, and just to get some of his thoughts, and I feel like that really come across here. One of the big things about this film is that they decided that they didn't want to have any kind of morality in here, like, you know, in terms of the drinking in and of itself. You know, like that's not really what the movie's about. Like, it's not judging.
About you should drink or don't drink.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which you kind of maybe think the American version is gonna go for that.
Drinking is wrong.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So it was a very open-minded film, right? And then with Vinterberg, he said that he called Another Round an ostensibly ode film to the joys and perils of drinking to excess. He says, I hope this film is in contact with a deeper conversation than just how much or how to drink. Vinterberg says, it's a battle against being measured, being valued, being graded, being evaluated, and living a very controlled life. Human life has become very much about achieving results and being measured in the right way. There's grades at school or the number of clicks that you will or won't get on your article. But there's also the evaluations you get from your friends and colleagues on social media many times a day. He has seen the effects of all of this on his own teenage daughters, who he called very fearful. If you look at the surveys of Danish youth culture, they feel historically bad about themselves.
Check out America's.
A World Health Organization report in 2020 found that Danish 15-year-olds consumed alcohol at almost double the European average. Vinterberg says they feel ugly. They feel unable to perform. That, I think, has to do with living in a society where you have to perform. He says Another Round is a reaction against these things, a riot for the uncontrollable. Alcohol becomes an entrance gate to the uncontrolled for a lot of people, he says. You end up beyond your own control, and there's apparently a need for that. After all, Vinterberg asks, how many married couples do you know who met each other sober? I don't know any. That's hilarious. What do you think of this?
I think that's fantastic. It seems he really understood the film. Did he make it?
Yeah, Vinterberg did.
Oh, wow. Oh.
Yeah. You know, there was a personal tragedy that did occur in the process of this movie. Have you heard of what happened?
No.
Oh, you really haven't? Okay. Let me just make sure I
have the correct facts.
Yeah. Let's see here. It's a really interesting article. If you want to read the whole thing, it's on Vogue, right? So, still, the film was made under tragic circumstances. The director's daughter, Ida, cast as Martin's daughter in the film, was killed in a car crash early in the shoot. It happened 4 days, actually, into shooting. It's been a tremendous grief, which it still is, and a long row of celebration, Vinterberg says. It's been a very contrast-full time. Because, let me see here. I remember reading that the daughter was actually one of his daughter who passed away was one of the strongest supporters of this movie for her dad, Vinterberg, to make it.
The director's daughter?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Early into the process of making the movie, and I think he did speak to how they had to reshape reframe certain parts of the film. The final scene is fueled by the energy of jubilant youngsters, and Vinterberg sees the film as an ode to them rather than to booze.
Mm-hmm.
What those middle-aged men are yearning for is what the youth have, the element of weightlessness and a less concerned life, he says. At least that's what we think they have. To some extent, I feel like dedicating this film not only to my daughter, as it is on the screen, but to the youth, living the most important years of their lives in confinement, who've already been oppressed by way too much control and self-control, who are all yearning to get out in the streets. I miss them running around in the streets and misbehaving. Ida was a part of that youth and felt seen by this script, he continues. For her, it was like watching 4 grown-ups living under the rules of a youngster. Everything was reversed. Instead of them living in a rational, oppressively controlled world, suddenly the world is liberated for the teachers. So yeah, in many ways, the film was shaped by his daughter Ida and the tragic circumstances of her passing.
I mean, that's fucking heavy.
Mm-hmm. A reminder, of course, that this did win the Best International Film Award at the Academy Awards. So, in case that didn't go mentioned, but it's an interesting kind of feel-good movie. Like it's not a traditional feel-good film, I think, but there's enough there overall. And I know that in part of the discussion that Guillermo del Toro facilitated with Vinterberg, because I love del Toro and I love when he gets excited about movies and I love to listen to him. And I agree with him when he said that, he was so invested with these characters that he was dreading the end because that's
not gonna end well.
Well, he was like, oh God, I don't want a whole bunch of bad endings in a row, and he said that he was just so happy that that's not the ending of the movie, and how the ending of the film just really just made him want to stand up, and he said it in the video that for a man of his weight, it takes a lot to get him to get up and do anything. So which that's Guillermo's self-deprecating nature, but no, he was very enthusiastic about the movie. And to me, that ending is just so great. It made the movie. I think you're right, Peter, but it was just like this perfect just way to leave you, because it leaves you just, I don't know, in this state of ecstasy, if that's the right word to use. Yeah. It's great.
Well, like he says, it's sort of this celebration of that type of living.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you certainly feel that watching it. And that's the biggest compliment you can give the film, right? If that's the sort of emotions that he's trying to convey, they were certainly conveyed. I certainly felt it by the end. And if someone like Guillermo del Toro saying like, yeah, it's mission accomplished. Yeah.
Great film. One of my favorites of 2020. Stay tuned for
21?
The official... Well, no, not
No, I know. It is 20.
Yeah. Because, and I say that because to repeat one more time, we still haven't gotten to the top 10 list of 2020, but don't worry. It's going to happen sometime in the next month, and Peter and I will for sure be there as far as everybody else on the panel. Stay tuned. I don't know if they'll be there either, but
it will happen. That is the bottom line.
Yeah. So that's those are my thoughts for another round. So Peter, shall we move on to the 2021 movie currently streaming on Netflix? A big hit on Netflix, in the top 5 for several days in a row. This comes to us from Sony Animation and produced by Phil Lord and Chris Miller. The Mitchells versus the Machines. Our synopsis from Letterboxd.
Hold on now. Now I gotta go get to it. You went in the wrong order.
Oh, I went in the wrong order. Okay. Well, I suppose it's my fault.
It's always your fault. Okay, The Mitchells versus the Machines, formerly known as Connected.
Oh, that's right.
Directed by Michael Rianda. Saving the world can be a trip. A quirky, dysfunctional family's road trip is upended when they find themselves in the middle of the robot apocalypse and suddenly become humanity's unlikeliest last hope. Starring Abby Jacobson, Danny McBride, Maya Rudolph, Olivia Colman, the director, Michael Rianda, and Eric Andre, Fred Armisen. That's like all the big names. Okay. What did you think?
Abby Jacobson is Katie Mitchell.
Yes.
Danny McBride is the dad. Rick Mitchell. Maya Rudolph, hilarious. She's amazing in anything. Here as Linda or Lynn Mitchell. And Michael Rianda, the director, is, for whatever reason, doing the voice of the younger brother, Aaron. Interesting there. And also, shout out to Olivia Colman. I recognize her voice immediately. She plays Pal here. So, and then also John Legend and Chrissy Teigen play the neighbors.
That I can see that.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah, no, this movie is outstanding. Yeah, it's a great word for it. That's it. It's outstanding. What do you think, Peter? I'm sorry, I'm not doing great with words today, so I'll elaborate more as Peter gets on. But look, this is Lord and Miller. Anything and everything they touch turns to gold. Let's just be real about this. Even when they're not in the director's helm, anything and everything they touch turns to gold, unless they're unceremoniously fired from a particular project. And we all know in that instance, it did not become gold. So making that distinction very clear. I think it's exciting that the direction that they're pretty much single-handedly taking Sony Animation in, you know.
Yes.
This coming off the heels of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and we should know that there are some similarities in the animation styling of it. Although no, I don't think completely the same, but there are similarities that are shared in between the two. But I think this has the magic touch that just about all of the Lord and Miller films have, and that is just this big, beautiful heart at the center of it that, you know, just seamlessly makes you connect with what is happening. There really isn't anything particularly inventive in terms of narrative going on here. It's a story you've seen many times beforehand, but it's one of these examples where it's done so tremendously well. You just become another extension of this crazy family dynamic. And the feels are definitely more than well delivered. I think it is, in my view, the definition of an excellent film, you know, by all indications. And I think, like, to me, with this coming off the heels of Spider-Verse, the Sony Animation Studio is the animation studio that to me is kind of producing the most exciting stuff right now. And what I'm most looking forward to coming in the next couple of years. So for me, this reached a very high bar all over the place.
Looks like you found those words.
Yep. Well, you made me say them, so all right.
You're welcome. I liked it. I really, really liked it. Oh God, it's so much fun. It's so entertaining. It's a film that's just bursting with energy.
Oh my
and
God,
life
yes.
and fun.
Yeah.
It's very funny. Like, the jokes for me consistently landed. And they made sure to do that thing, because a lot of comedies that are not that great, if they have a bad joke, they won't shut up about it, you know? They won't just move on to the next joke. They'll hammer that bad joke in. And it's like, But with this, even if maybe one joke doesn't hit, they're always moving to the next one. The animation, stellar. I loved it.
Oh my
gosh. So inventive.
Yeah.
And so out there, in your face. And the family, I really enjoyed them. I will say, like, throughout the film, they're constantly talking about, like, oh, we're weird, we're different, we're this, we're that. And it's like, I don't think they're that weird.
No.
They're really not. And I don't know if you saw the Double Toasted review.
Oh no, I didn't. No.
It was funny. Martin, like, he didn't care for the film, and and he kind of went off at the end. He's like, you know, they're saying we're weird, we're this, we're that. I'm like, you're not weird, you're just Midwesterners. Like, shut up. And that really made me laugh. That was funny. Because it's like, it's like, oh, you're a dad into the outdoors? So weird. A younger brother into dinosaurs? Weird. Like, it's not weird. It's like the most cliche stuff. But I think everyone thinks that they're weird. Everyone thinks that their family is weird. And I think it really taps into that. People think, like, oh, here we go. I'll connect it to another round. You know, how they're talking about how we place these sort of expectations on ourselves.
Yeah.
About what we have to be in comparison to the rest of the world. And we're just constantly never meeting those. And it just drags us down mentally and emotionally. You kind of see that in this movie, where it's like, they're not weird, they're not bad, but they feel that in comparison to the rest of the world, in comparison to the Chrissy Teigens and the John Legends of the world. But no, I enjoy it. It's so much fun. I really enjoyed it.
It's a lot of fun. I saw it twice. And there was even some things I caught the second time, and some particular lines that landed more so the second time. In regards to what you mentioned about, the comedy here, and the comedy is great, but it's one of these things where like they're not just like throwing out like 1,000 one-liners and then they go nowhere. A lot of the stuff that's actually, it does that thing where you think you're hearing a one-liner that goes nowhere, but then it ends up going somewhere, and it builds throughout. As the picture.
Hold on now. That kind of sounds like writing. What are you talking about?
Yes. Yes, that may be the professional term to use here, and that is writing. No, it is. Oh my gosh, I really love the writing. I really love the protagonist here.
Yeah,
I really connected with Katie, and her love of movies and movie making, and the whole movies that she would make. Admittedly, were hilarious. Honestly,
the funniest part to me was when she was showing her dad the first time her going away video, and he's just like, "What the fuck am I watching?" And I'm not gonna lie, I kind of felt like the dad at that point too, because the video was just like lights and flashing things and like
right.
the dog, and I'm just like, relax.
But then they showed more clips of it, and you're like, "This is actually pretty good."
Yeah. It's that judgment though, where it's like,
right.
You can see both sides. But no, some of the comedy was just right up my alley. Like the whole Furby stuff.
Oh my god, can you believe that? I love, by the way, the robots. The robots, especially the ones that were, they kind of became de facto members of the family.
Yeah. It's just these weird, messed up robots. They were funny.
Mm-hmm.
If I have any criticisms, it almost felt like the film wanted to say something about technology, but it really...
You think?
Doesn't at all.
It doesn't. Yeah. No. But you think it was trying to say something about it?
Well, like in the beginning of the film, like the dad's like, "You guys are always on your phones," and like, "Get off your phone."
Right.
And then the whole plot is literally technology rebelling against mankind. I guess.
Sure. Okay.
The way you can kind of pull it through is just Katie kind of finally getting it through to her dad that like, this is, you communicate your way, but like, this is the way I communicate, right? And then by the end, he's making attempts to communicate with her the way she does. In one way that I think you could sort of wrap it around to it saying something technology in the film is the miscommunication between her and her dad. And by the end, Katie just kind of getting through to him, going like, "Hey, like you communicate your way, but I communicate this way, like through technology. That's the way I communicate." And by the end, he's making attempts to talk to her on her level. He's made a YouTube channel and he's like, "Add me," He sends a letter asking her to add her. And it's like, okay, there's growth and they're trying to understand each other. And it's...
Yeah.
And it's not so much as like a technology bad thing. It's just more of like technology different.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, that's one way I think you can sort of pull that all together.
I don't know if the movie was saying anything in regards to like, I know that there were some one-liners. What was it? When Hell took over, and then the CEO guy was saying something about maybe we shouldn't trust app developers with all this data and everything. Like,
yeah,
it was being very direct about what it was going for there, but that was mostly it.
It was more of a throwaway joke. Wink, wink.
Right. But yeah. I heard some people had an issue with the length, the overall runtime. They found it maybe like a few minutes too long. Did you have a similar issue with that?
It is a longish film for the premise. But God, does it move so fast?
It does,
and
yeah.
It maintains that level of energy throughout the whole thing. Maybe you could have cut it a little shorter. I can see the film still working and it being a little shorter, but it doesn't bother me. And I like the stuff that is in there, so it's like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't no issue for me.
Anything else to say about the movie?
I really, these are the kind of animated films I like, and I agree with you.
Yeah,
that it's like, it's different and it's fun. It's not the most original story, but it's having fun with the medium, you know?
Yeah.
And it's going for things. And it's, frankly, you don't see that all that much, you know? In this animated sphere, people probably usually keep it pretty tight to the chest, at least with mainstream studios. So I'm really happy with this.
I am too. Please go out and watch it. It's a great movie.
On Netflix.
Yeah. So there's that. Well, I think we're just about done here. Thank you all for listening to our ramblings and our thoughts on everything. Next couple of weeks, we are going to get to review films like Promising Young Woman, Minari, and The Father. And don't worry, we'll also have some time, I guess, to talk about Cruella and A Quiet Place Part 2. Because that's happening at the end of the month as well.
Can I make a prediction?
Oh, please. I love your predictions.
Okay. You guys are going to love Cruella.
You know, one of the predictions that didn't come true lately was that Steve Rogers cameo in Falcon and the Winter Soldier didn't happen.
Did I predict that?
You predicted something about Steve Rogers dying and a funeral scene happening, and that would be like a catalyst.
Could happen. I don't. Maybe if you have the audio, but I don't remember specifically.
Okay, so there's now a distinction between what is a slight prediction, or a possible prediction, and a for sure prediction. Okay,
no. I said there's a difference between saying like that could be one of the things, but I'm saying this is my prediction. That there's a complete difference. I'm laying it down.
Okay, and your prediction is
you guys will like Cruella.
Who is you guys? Anybody but you.
Basically.
Okay. Well, I'm sure the Fantasy Fair will cover it, and we'll get to it when we can. But we do want to make sure we get to the top 10.
That is the highest priority currently.
Yeah. I do wonder, I think at this point, we may end up beating our previous record of how long we dragged this out last time.
Fantastic.
For sure. This will be the latest we've gone into a new year recording the best movies of the previous year. There's a good chance this thing is not going to be released until June, which is the halfway mark of 2021.
And then right when it's done, we got to get on it and watching 2021 movies.
Yeah, because the summer season is going to have a lot of big movies coming. So all of that here. Stay tuned for Red Spotlight. Thank you all for listening. Catch your podcasts Sundays, Thursdays, anywhere you listen to podcasts: Apple, Spotify, Castbox, YouTube, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, all of the places. Stay under the spotlight until next time. We'll see you. Bye-bye.